Hey guys, it's Alex back in the garage working with the white 19 GT on the turbo kit. So yesterday I asked Jake if he would come over and look at my current progress to see if there's anything he would suggest to do. Jake has built an insane amount of turbo kits. He is literally one of the brains behind Fluid Turbo Concepts, and he has owned many turbo vehicles in the past, so he knows his way around the turbo kit, what needs to happen and what's the next proper steps in order for you not to repeat something that he has done in the past. So after I showed him the kit, I showed him everything that's going on in the kit. I just kind of, you know, lightly put everything together, and I don't want to say a mock-up because in my opinion I thought I had this in and I didn't have to mess with it anymore. So he goes and says, okay, take it all apart. I said, excuse me? He goes, take it all apart and make sure that you get all the studs in on the top first, sneak the headers in, remove the alternator. He goes, literally remove the alternator and go ahead and you'll have more access to the cylinder 4 and 5 header nuts if you remove the alternator. And I went, you want me to remove the alternator? He goes, yep. Okay. And then what? He goes, but before you put any of that on, you have to take all these wires and tuck them behind the fender. So he's like, take this line, take this brake line, get some kind of clamp, cinch it up against the fender, take that massive wiring harness right there. Yes, that wiring harness. Yes, this one. And remove it from where it's located, which is up there under the ABS, which is not going to be easy, but I'll figure it out. Remove the fender liner. He says, yes, remove the fender liner, get this out of here, and take that line and get it behind this guy. So this has now become, obviously it was going to be a long project because basically to me it's custom. You know, there isn't anything, instructions that you can kind of guide anyone on because this fits supposedly 15 to 22. So everything's gonna have to be, you know, instructions can't be specific, but in my opinion they should be, because if you design something that's up against, you know, that, you should say you might want to get rid of that, not just shield it, probably just get rid of it. But luckily Jake was nice enough to stop by from his busy schedule and said, okay, take it all apart. I said, okay. Now my problem is this: if I take it apart, I'm probably not inclined to put it all back on. And he knows that. And he goes, look, because you almost need another person to have a second set of eyes and have a different perspective, because you can get in your own head about stuff like this and not accomplish a goddamn thing. He goes, look, you already have a blower GT500, you have a badass ZR1, you have you're gonna have potentially a supercharged truck. Are you just gonna have another supercharged stick Mustang when you already had that with the Vortec? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he says, you know, when it's all said and done, it's gonna be badass, but you know, the exhaust routing is gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to do a bumper exit for now until you figure out the exhaust routing. Maybe you can get with the company that makes the kit and see if they can hook you up. And I'm like, I don't want to do anyone any favors, but I do want exhaust out the back eventually on this vehicle. So today I'm gonna blow this whole thing apart, take it all apart and get that all situated. He also saw the fan that came in the kit and he literally laughed out loud. He goes, you're not using that fan. I said, yeah, the fan is about, you know, half the size of what it should be. And he goes, yeah, if I were you, just like Rami said, I'd get a GT500 fan, cut what you need to cut, but the GT500 fan will be adequate to cool this car with that power level. And he also said to wrap it before you put everything in. So he said, blow everything apart, tuck the harnesses before you put anything back in, wrap everything. And I was like, holy shit. I'm not gonna wrap the primaries of the header because then I won't be able to get to the bolts at all. But he said at least the parts where right before the V-band and right after the V-band. He goes, right before this, you should definitely do that. Obviously not the V-band, and do this all the stuff outside of the car. So today it's gonna be a blow it apart day. Guys, I put the starter back in, I put the motor mounts back in, I put everything back in. So that's okay. I'll take it all apart and start on tucking the wiring harness, not just on the passenger side, but the driver's side. The driver's side looks like a pain. This one if you won't be able to see it, but once I take it apart, it's basically responsible for all of your power cables, and you're gonna have to blow it apart and go ahead and change things. Then I'm gonna have to permanently relocate the PCM. I have to flip it 180, mount it to the firewall. So guys, this is gonna be a long project. So this will basically be the part 2. Put it together, basically mocked it up unintentionally, take it all apart, tuck wire, excuse me, tuck wire, tuck brake lines. I don't think I'm gonna get to the point of this video to put it all together wrapped, because that's gonna take me a long time in my opinion, but I'll at least get you updates on what's going on with this turbo kit. If you wanna frustrate yourself thinking that you are a halfway decent tech or mechanic, I dare you put on one of these turbo kits with the provided information. That's the caveat, with the provided information, and feel good about the install. So I just opened the fan up because I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna just wing it. I'm gonna see if I can install the fan. Maybe the fan's adequate. Stock fans, badass fins that open up when you're driving. 1,000 horsepower fan. Which one do you think would be more adequate for cooling a car that's going to make an insane amount more heat in the engine bay? Oh, here's the mounting hardware. I'm installing it. I'm gonna go all the way. Car might be for sale by the time it's said and done, but I'm installing it. Okay, so the wiring harness on the opposite side, on the engine bay, that was up against the header. By the way, everything took a quarter of the time to take it out, because when you've done it a couple times, you find tips and tricks. So probably a solid 40 minutes to take everything out. Not a huge deal, just a couple of bolts or pain in the butt to get to. Anyway, so that's out quickly. So this harness, now that I have some room, I definitely have to take the alternator off, and before I put the headers back on, alternator has to come off, even though I put the bracket and everything on. But look, I can look at it as mocking up stage. So this guy, this son of a bitch, has to get snaked behind this because the headers rest up against this. I also have to find some kind of clamp so that I can bring this guy and drill right into this with some kind of retaining situation. Then this side, as I said, you see how it's scuffed up most of the heat shield stuff right there? So that all has to get taken apart and rerouted, maybe above it or inside. So that's the next step. That's literally going to be the part 2 of this video, trying to find out what's the best way to route this guy and this guy to avoid any issues with the headers rubbing up against them. Alrighty, so took them off. Now I'm working on relocating all the wiring. This is the most tedious thing on the planet, and you feel like you're making zero progress. First off, I had to get some slack off of this PCM connector, which is the biggest one in the middle, and in order to do that, you have to pretty much find where it tugs. I had a ground here, broke it, undoing it, must have been brittle, so whatever. Then the cam sensor connection, I am not going to tug on that, and I am not gonna extend that, and I am not gonna do anything of that sort. At that point, yeah, it's one thing removing some wire and moving it out of the way. It's another thing rewiring sensors that are very crucial to the car, because I got to put a fucking turbo kit on the car. It's fucking silly. So I'm gonna try to find a way to extend this guy somewhere, because Gen 2s must have some more slack than this does, because I could put this guy all the way up here, but I have nowhere to mount it, and I'm gonna start drilling holes into a car eventually. I can almost feel I'm gonna start drilling holes into a nice 19 Mustang, which blows my mind. This isn't a Fox body, it's a fucking Gen 3 Mustang that you have to do all this stuff. And why am I doing this? Well, only because it'll be the first and last time. First and last time I do this. I'm not gonna redo wiring and stuff to put a turbo on a car. In my opinion, if you design a turbo kit for a car, it should fit the car with minimal modifications to wiring. If you cannot do that properly, you should not be in this business, in my opinion. Some people say it's normal, it's 100% normal. Okay, if you were to tell me that I had to remove wiring, extend wiring to put a TVS on, I would never do that. So anyway, I'm gonna rant the whole time because this is just ridiculous, but I'm gonna do it. I'm committed. And this thing better run fucking 460 to 130 stick. If not, I fucking sell it. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to extend some wiring or maybe pull on it to see what I can do. I already undid my tank. I mean, it's a hornet's nest, guys. It's really not a good look. So just giving you guys my experience with this, because I guarantee people that do turbo stuff don't tell you the nitty-gritty stuff. They'll promote it, they'll say it's badass, they'll say it's the best kit on the planet, and they'll put it on their website, but they won't show you this stuff. Well, after multiple attempts to decipher the hieroglyphics that are the instructions, it's custom. Get it in your mind, this is going to be 100% custom, and life will be better, because every time I reference the instructions, nothing helped. So I can't move this wire into the inside of the fender because I am not willing to go in there and investigate where it's connected to, unplug it and reroute it all the way through the front. Because with my luck, everything is gonna, every light on the dash is gonna be on when I start relocating stuff. So the best thing I could do is move it up a little bit and secure it onto the fender, and do something about the brake line on the bottom without stressing it out down here, so that it's up against the wall also. That's all I'm gonna do. I am not gonna reroute this whole thing in through here, disconnect it at the firewall. No, I'm just not doing that. I don't care if it looks like shit. At this point, it's a custom deal, so let me just do what I can. In my opinion, this is where you're at a crossroads. And let's be honest, I have had, it changes like minute to minute, full intention of putting this turbo kit on. Let's be honest, relocating the PCM, removing the sway bar, having to route a ton of wires, especially this one, the one that I tried to tuck underneath, and I still think it'll get super hot down there, has become not the last straw, but close to it. And what I'm going to do right now is the kit is off. The kit is 100% off. I've been degreasing nonstop. So because it's off, I have the opportunity of selling it to somebody that has way more patience than I do, that probably doesn't have the motor on the car, that's waiting for a power adder, that is willing to relocate wiring and make a drag car out of his. So I have to figure out, what do I have to do? Do I want to go through all this effort to put in a kit that eliminates the stuff that I like about the car, that makes me reroute a bunch of wires all over the place, and then I have to do a whole bunch of other stuff to make it work, as opposed to having something that's undermounted or mid-mount that might be easier to put in, and I can retain all of my factory stuff. I have to do some thinking. So this will be the end of part 2. I installed everything, mocked it all up, then blew it all apart because Jake told me to, and I said to him, you know, if I blow this all apart, the likelihood of it going back in is very low. He goes, I know. So do what you got to do, but this is what I recommend you do. Move that wire, move the PCM, da 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 da. And I thought to myself, okay, I was super motivated to do it. After 4 hours of work here to to clearance everything on the Gen 3 to make this particular, I'm not going to call it a kit, this particular turbo system to work on my car the way I wanted to, and then having to cut a hole in the bumper and get rid of my exhaust, it's looking less and less likely that I'll be reinstalling it. So I'm gonna leave you there. I'm definitely gonna leave you there because, one, I don't want to keep trashing the kit, because the people are gonna think I'm trashing the kit, and I'm not trashing the kit. I am disappointed that everything I like about the car has to be removed to install this kit. Wiring has to be rerouted, not to stock spec, and it's just gonna be way more work than I wanna do. So I'll do my research, I'll keep the kit, I'll do my research, I'll see what's out there that might suit my needs better. But as of now, I'm just gonna clean up the engine bay and we'll see what happens, whether this guy goes back on or I do something else. All right, guys, thanks for your patience. I appreciate it. I've been working nonstop trying to make sense of this and to see if it's right for me. So I'll keep you posted as to what I do with the white car and the current turbo system from this car. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Keep in touch. I'll get you videos on the ZR1 and the GT500 very soon. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you later.